Whispers in the Trenches. It was the winter of 1944, and the war had woven a tapestry of fear and despair across the European landscape. In the heart of the Ardennes, where the bitter cold was matched only by the brutality of the battles fought, a small squad of weary soldiers huddled in the muddy trenches. Private James McCullough, a young man with haunted eyes, was among them. As the wind howled through the skeletal trees, carrying with it the stench of death, the soldiers shivered in their damp uniforms. The distant echoes of artillery fire and the occasional screams of wounded comrades filled the air. McCullough could feel the weight of the war pressing down on him, but there was something else, an intangible dread that seemed to seep from the very earth. One frigid night, as the squad gathered around a feeble fire, McCullough overheard a whispered tale. A fellow soldier spoke of a spectral presence that roamed the trenches, unseen and unheard until it was too late. They called it the Shadow of the Ardennes, a vengeful spirit said to claim the souls of those who had grown too weary of the war. Skeptical at first, McCullough dismissed it as the product of fear and fatigue. However, as the nights wore on, strange occurrences unfolded. Soldiers reported hearing hushed whispers in the darkness, just beyond the range of their flickering lanterns. Shadows danced in the corners of their vision, and a bone-chilling cold settled in the air. One by one, the squad members began to vanish. They would march into the blackness, following an otherworldly call that only they could hear. McCullough tried to warn them, but his words fell on deaf ears. They would simply smile, their eyes vacant, and continue into the abyss. Haunted by the disappearances, McCullough sought answers. He delved into the history of the Ardennes, uncovering tales of ancient rituals and battles fought long before the war that now raged above. Legend spoke of a curse that bound the land, claiming the souls of those who dared disturb its uneasy slumber. Desperation gripped McCullough as he realized that the spectral force was closing in on him. He heard the whispers, felt the icy breath on his neck. Night after night, he resisted the call, clinging to his sanity as the war raged on. One fateful evening, as a dense fog settled over the trenches, McCullough stood alone. The whispers surrounded him, the shadows coalescing into a formless mass. In the eerie silence that followed, a ghostly figure emerged, the shadow of the Ardennes. Its hollow eyes bore into McCullough's soul, and a voice echoed through his mind, recounting the agony of a long-forgotten battle. The spirit demanded retribution for the sins committed on the sacred soil. McCullough, burdened by the weight of guilt and survival, made a desperate plea for mercy. The ghostly figure hesitated, and then, with a mournful wail, it dissipated into the fog. The whispers ceased, and the shadows retreated. McCullough was left alone, the sole survivor of a squad lost to the horrors of war and the ancient curse that clung to the Ardennes. As the first light of dawn broke over the desolate battlefield, McCullough stumbled out of the trenches, a haunted man forever marked by the chilling whispers of a war-torn land and the specter that lurked within its shadows. After surviving the harrowing encounter with the Shadow of the Ardennes, Private James McCullough found himself a changed man. The war continued to rage around him, but the weight of the supernatural burden he carried eclipsed even the horrors of the battlefield. Haunted by the memories of his lost comrades and the spectral apparition, McCullough became withdrawn, his once vibrant eyes now dull and haunted. He struggled to find solace in the moments of respite between battles, tormented by the whispers that lingered on the edge of his consciousness. As the war neared its end, McCullough's unit was assigned to various fronts, and the once tight-knit group of soldiers dispersed. Those who had survived carried with them the trauma of their experiences, but none bore the scars as deeply as McCullough. Returning home after the war, McCullough struggled to reintegrate into civilian life. The memories of the Ardennes, both the tangible horrors of combat and the spectral presence that had haunted him, continued to torment his every waking moment. Nightmares plagued his sleep, and he found himself perpetually on edge, as if the shadows of the past were still reaching out to claim him. Haunted by a sense of responsibility for the lost souls of his comrades, McCullough embarked on a quest for redemption. He delved into the mysteries of the supernatural, seeking to understand the forces that had gripped the Ardennes and the ancient curse that had claimed the lives of his fellow soldiers. His journey led him to forgotten archives, dusty libraries, and conversations with those who still whispered of the supernatural. In his pursuit of answers, McCullough discovered that the curse of the Ardennes had roots in an age-old tragedy, a tale of betrayal and bloodshed that had left an indelible mark on the land. Driven by a newfound determination, McCullough sought to break the curse and lay the spirits of the Ardennes to rest. His quest took him back to the very trenches where he had faced the shadow, armed with the knowledge he had gathered and a resolve to confront the lingering darkness. In a ritual of atonement, McCullough performed the ancient rites, invoking words and symbols meant to appease the restless spirits. As he completed the ceremony, the air around him seemed to shimmer, and for a moment, he felt the weight of the curse lifting. The whispers ceased, and the shadows retreated, leaving behind an eerie calm. The fog that had once clung to the trenches dissipated, revealing a landscape scarred by war, but no longer tainted by the malevolent presence that had held sway. With the curse broken, McCullough felt a profound sense of closure. The spirits of his fallen comrades seemed to linger for a moment, their spectral forms nodding in acknowledgement, before finally fading away. The Ardennes, once a battleground of both mortal and supernatural forces, was left to heal. Having fulfilled his mission, McCullough wandered off into the dawn, the burden lifted from his shoulders. Though the scars of war and the memories of the Ardennes would always be a part of him, he walked away with a newfound peace, leaving behind a chapter of history that few would ever believe. The tale of a soldier who faced not only the horrors of war, but also the spectral shadows that lingered in its wake.